During the 2016 NFL season, the Jacksonville Jaguars went 3-13, which resulted in their head coach Gus Bradley getting fired and the hiring of former head coach Tom Coughlin to oversee the team's operations as an executive vice president. After Bradley was fired, the assistant head coach Doug Marrone was promoted as head coach and remained in that position for the next season. As we know, the Jaguars would go from 3-13 to a division-winning 10-6 record that very next year in 2017. How did this happen so quickly, you may ask? The quick and easy answer was their defense, but let's dive into that a little bit more. They had a young nucleus of stud defensive players, 25 or younger, including Yannick Ngakoue, Myles Jack, Dante Fowler, and Jalen Ramsey. The defense also had some veterans in their prime like Calais Campbell, AJ Bouye, Malik Jackson, Tashawn Gibson, Barry Church, Telvin Smith, and the longest tenured on that defense in Paul Posluszny at middle linebacker. That Jags defense, which was later nicknamed Sacksonville for their relentless pressure put on opposing quarterbacks all season, finished second in total defense that season. They were second in the NFL with 56 sacks while forcing 33 turnovers, which also ranked second that season. For their offense, it ran through 2017's fourth overall pick in Leonard Fournette, the running back out of LSU. Fournette eclipsed 1,000 yards on the ground and scored a total of 10 touchdowns that season. Their quarterback, Blake Bortles, who was taken third overall a few years prior, had one job, and that was not to lose them any games. While Bortles didn't put up fantastic numbers, he only had 16 total turnovers while being sacked a career-low 24 times. Now that we know all the characters, it's time to briefly touch on the 2017 season and how it ended. After a divisional round upset over the Pittsburgh Steelers, it was on to New England for the AFC Championship, where you could argue that the Jaguars outplayed the Patriots in that matchup. The Jags built up a 20-10 lead early in the fourth quarter, and after an incredible play by Myles Jack, who stole the ball from Dion Lewis, the Jags were in the driver's seat, but their offense completely stalled. A couple of big Danny Amendola plays later, and the Pats were up 24-20, but left Blake Bortles and the offense about 2.5 minutes to go down and win the game. The Jags had their chances, but on 4th and 14, the Patriots and cornerback Stephon Gilmore got the stop they needed to go to Super Bowl 51. Despite the tough loss, the future looked very bright for Jacksonville with such young talent and a dominant defense, but as we know, that did not go as planned. Time to talk about the downfall of the Jaguars and what happened from 2018 to present day. One key loss that took place in the 2018 offseason was Allen Robinson, but the Jags had all their 2017 success without Robinson, who basically missed the entire season. They also lost veteran linebacker Paul Posluszny, tight end Mercedes Lewis, guard Patrick Omameh, wide receiver Allen Hurns, and cornerback Aaron Colvin. They did patch some holes by signing guard Andrew Norwell to a massive contract and wide receiver Dante Moncrief to help replace Hurns and Robinson. 2018 started off pretty well, going 2-0, including a dominating win over the Patriots. After going 3-1 entering Week 5, they ended the season going 2-10 the rest of the way, finishing with a 5-11 record overall. We've heard the saying Super Bowl hangover, but I guess the phrase almost Super Bowl hangover can be used here. Although it wasn't at 2017's level, the Jaguars' defense still placed 5th in total defense, but their sacks and turnovers went way down as compared to the year prior. They did face some key injuries like Leonard Fournette, center Brandon Linder, and pass rusher Dante Fowler was traded to the Los Angeles Rams for a 3rd and 5th round pick. After the down year in 2018, the Jags hit the 2019 offseason looking to make some changes. They signed recent Super Bowl winning quarterback Nick Foles to a 4-year, $88 million contract and released former top 3 pick quarterback Blake Bortles. Some other guys they lost were wide receiver Dante Moncrief, who stayed for 1 season, Malik Jackson, and Tashawn Gibson. They did add some high draft picks to hope to make immediate impacts like outside linebacker Josh Allen 7th overall, and early 2nd round pick offensive tackle Jawan Taylor. Another huge and unexpected loss was one of their linebackers, Telvin Smith, who decided to take a break from football, but 3 years later has not appeared in a game and has gotten in trouble with the law since. Smith was a former 2nd team All-Pro, but looks to have played his last game in the NFL at a young age of 27 years old. The Jags entered 2019 with a new quarterback, new offensive coordinator John DeFilippo, and some optimism that their defense was still top tier in the league and hopefully get them back in the playoffs. The season was in doubt before their first game even ended, as the newly signed quarterback Nick Foles broke his collarbone during the first half. His replacement Gardner Minshew, a 6th round pick from that year, did well in his place but still resulted in another down year. On October 16th, the Jags traded their former 5th overall pick Jalen Ramsey for 2 first-round picks and a 4th rounder. Ramsey was seeking a big extension, but Jacksonville preferred the option of trading him for multiple picks in the hopes of a rebuild effort. They finished that season in 2019 at 6-10, and the once dominant defense just a couple years prior finished 21st ranked in the NFL. After hope that they could get back in the playoffs in 2018 and 2019, it was now evident that a rebuild in Jacksonville was was inevitable. In 2020's offseason, the Jaguars cleaned house, including the firing of Tom Coughlin towards the end of 2019's season. The hiring of Coughlin was a complete disaster, and we later found out that a lot of players were fed up with him and his ridiculous amount of fines he was giving out to players. Also, offensive coordinator John DeFilippo was fired after just one season. In the 2020 offseason, Jacksonville traded the likes of Calais Campbell, AJ Bouye, Nick Foles, Ronnie Harrison, and Yannick Ngakoue. A few weeks before the 2020 season even started, the Jags shockingly cut running back Leonard Fournette, the former 4th overall pick from just a few seasons ago. The current Jags are one of the worst teams in football, and just 4 seasons off a near Super Bowl appearance, it seems like even going 3-13 in 2020 is a massive stretch. The good news is that Jacksonville is stockpiled with draft picks for the future, and while it might take until 2022 to see actual results, it's better to fully rebuild than try the winning and rebuilding approach, which always seems to fail in the end. We also found out very recently that their GM since 2013, David Caldwell, was fired after the Week 12 home loss against Cleveland, so a lot of turnover is expected in Jacksonville in the near future. Maybe one day we see a Justin Fields-led Jacksonville team find success in the near future, but the Jacksonville Jaguars that we once knew back in 2017 are a distant memory today.